Hello and welcome back to the Wisely Automotive YouTube channel. Apologies in advance for not looking at you, but I am driving through London and it's not the easiest thing to do while being filmed. But I thought I would take you along for the ride on a day where I'm doing mobile service. I've got 3 jobs today, all fairly near London, so it's not the longest of mobile service days, so it was a good opportunity for Martin, who's behind the camera, to hop along in the van with me and come along and see what it's like. The first i3 on the agenda is a 2017 94 amp hour BEV. I open up the van and get straight on with it. The cabin air filter gets replaced and laptop is plugged in to complete a fault code read. In the meantime, not long into the physical inspection, a number of observations arise. A 175mm wide tyre is fitted to the near side front wheel instead of the correct 155mm width tyre. Speaking with the customer, it transpires that a puncture was found during the last MOT, and as such the MOT centre, a nationwide outfit known for fitting things quickly, replaced the tyre. Ironically, this in itself is an MOT failure, go figure. Secondly, the motor mount has started to tear. The customer was informed and authorised a replacement of this critical part there and then. The thing about doing motor mounts and not expecting to do it is I would have jacked the car up a little bit differently in anticipation, but it's okay, we can do things fairly dynamically. So I've got the car braced and now it's a case of getting into the engine compartment. I ordinarily wouldn't do on a BEV because we inspect everything from the underside just to save time and as a result cost. On a range extender obviously this would always come out because you have to top up the oil and check the oil level and the coolant level, but yeah, never use a power tool to remove these because the little rubber nut that these bolts go into is really quite delicate and just doesn't go hand in hand with using a power tool, so it takes an extra minute or two, but doing it by hand will pay dividends. Little trick, the rear 3 you don't have to remove, you just raise the washer like so, and you can just slide it from behind those washers. While we're here, have a little look. Quite a few fox prints or cat prints, paw prints, that's not unusual. Any kind of vermin damage or chew marks, sometimes these sheaths on these cables get chewed, but all looks fine. Dirty, but that's perfectly normal. Earth straps are all okay. So I'm doing things slightly unorthodox order because of the way I've jacked it up, but now I've got to brace the whole drivetrain and then start extracting the motor mount from the side. Being a 94 amp hour, it's got the metal brackets, means it's about a 250 pound job. It takes about 40-50 minutes, whereas if it was an early car and it had the plastic bracket, then it's a whole different kettle of fish, sort of 3-4 plus hours. It's about 1,050 pounds to do both sides. Still something we can do mobile, but we really would need to know in advance. Whereas with this, because we've built in about an hour or so of extra time just for findings based on the age of the car, and the customers naturally decided to get it done while we're here, we can just crack on and get it done. And that's the beauty of, or one of the beauties of using mobile service, because that van has literally everything on board. No need to take an extra day off, go drop the car off again, etc, etc. You can see more clearly the extent of the tear, or I have had a conversation with the customer about it. Obviously sometimes an extra 250 pounds just like that is not possible. We are realistic on these. I have sort of explained that, look, it's not going to get any better. It's probably only a critical concern once this tear gets to about this point here, about the halfway point. There's a little void in there with some damping fluid, and then that damping fluid starts kind of gushing out, leaking everywhere, and also at that point it really collapses and there's a lot more slack in the mount, and as a result a lot more stress on that bolt, and that's the number one thing we're trying to prevent here. We're trying to prevent that bolt shearing from all the torque of the motor during acceleration and deceleration. You probably know, if you're into i3s, that over the years BMW increased the size of this bolt. It's a single-use bolt as well, so we place it. Even then though, the reason it was increased was because of its shearing, so yeah, it's not something that you can just leave. It is something that needs doing eventually. Makes sense to get it done obviously while we're here. So now it's a case of extracting the old one. This is the official tool, so it basically grabs onto the motor mount either side, and using 2 dedicated points on the frame of the car, it pulls the motor mount out. There's the old one out, and actually you can see all this misting of oil, so that damping fluid has actually started to escape. It's really hard to capture on camera, but it's all wet in there. So actually looking at it there, that's a lot worse than it looked like from the surface of things. That's the motor mount basically done, and now I can just sort of slot back in with what I was doing with the rest of the service. Yeah, nice opportunity. Obviously it earns us a bit of extra money, means that the customer's got it done and is avoiding potentially a big sort of catastrophic event. And yeah, can't guarantee that we always have enough time to do, you know, anything that we find. Sometimes we need parts as well, but we really are quite well stocked for most of these kind of more common things. So the only problem is now we're a little bit tight on time, so I'm going to get my head down, crack on with the rest of the service. Moving on to the driver's side. And so with BEVs, we generally jack them up one side at a time. With range extenders, we'll either do it 3 times, we'll introduce a middle one to just have the rear of the car up, or we will lift the whole car using some custom-made jacking beams that we have. But this is actually a really good example of why we ask for sort of at least 1 meter of space either side of the car. So if you're not sure if your area is suitable, this kind of explains why. So that's the door being opened all the way. That's a good reference point, but any more than that and it really starts getting difficult to lift the car. So yeah, if in doubt, you can always send us photos. A lot of customers do that. We can also have a look on Street View if your property is visible, and we've got a pretty good idea of what works, what doesn't. Everything on this side of the car is good. The gaiters have been replaced before. The major giveaway is that they're still intact and it's a 2017 car. The other giveaway is that this last kind of ring, which has these little dimples or these little holes, the old one from the previous gaiter is still there, so that can just leave. But yeah, everything's been fitted nicely. I've got no concerns, and also just sort of simulating a bit of motion on the top mount bearing. I'm kind of happy that it's got enough grease and everything's good. Brakes, they were a bit rusty before the road test, but a bit of sort of heavy braking has cleaned them up well. We are replacing a lot of discs at the moment on cars of all ages, but basically anything 2019 and older. And in almost all cases, we're pulling out pads that still have well over 50% of life left. So yeah, if there's one bit of advice I can do to save yourself some money down the line is, I know it's annoying because the regen braking is so good, but try and use the friction brakes from time to time, because by keeping on top of it, you'll prolong the life of the disc, and you're only sacrificing pad life, which is going to go in the bin anyway.
I don't find any significant issues with the offside of the car, so I crack on with the final bits and pieces and move on to the digital part of the service.
One of the things that we do on any service is check the health of the 12-volt battery, and this is a really good example of why sometimes that's a better way of dealing with the 12-volt battery than just changing it preventatively and very likely wasting money. This is a 2017 car on its original battery, both confirmed on the actual battery. It says 2017, and here it says last battery exchange at 0 kilometers, and it's suggesting a health using sort of quite a lot of data points. The algorithm's calculated at 67%. Now, from experience and going to a lot of cars which have failed 12-volt batteries, and generally where we see 12-volt battery issues, we recommend replacing that if it's under 50%. So it's actually not officially a recommendation from us. We'll talk to the customer, explain that it's obviously 8 years old, so it might be something to consider, but given there's still loads of 2014, 2015 cars with 12-volt batteries dying on them, it could well still have another 2 years, and the evidence suggests that. So yeah, we'll report that to the customer. If they do want it getting changed, we can do it. If not, we reassess in 2 years, and if it's dipped under 50%, I would say, or even if it hasn't, we replace at that point, because it'll be 9 years old. They've taken on board the evidence and the advice, and they've decided just to get the 12-volt battery done while we're here. We weren't expecting to do a 12-volt, but we've got extras, so while we've still got the laptop connected, replace the battery and then register it to the car. This probably isn't the right video to go through things to look out for and things that you need to do, things you shouldn't do if you're doing it at home, but there are a lot of videos out there which kind of explain it, and I've watched a few of them, and in some of them there's some really obvious mistakes, and if it's one of those jobs that on paper it's fairly simple, but if you get one thing wrong, there's really dire potential consequences. So yeah, if you want us to do more sort of how-to videos, we're conscious that a lot of people watch from abroad. So yeah, if a general 12 volt battery video would be useful, let us know in the comments. But just like that, that's the old one out, and that's how you check the age of it physically, so week 18 2017. And if it's a job that you're looking to potentially do yourself and you need to source the battery, we really recommend just using the BMW battery above all else. Proof's in the pudding, it's lasted 9 years, why risk changing that for a few quid? But yeah, if you need to source one, we might just have a solution, so watch this space. I'm not going to say much more just yet. Job one done, customer very happy, really productive, so pleased with that. Timing wise, it's around midday now. On to the second one, it's about 30 minutes and another BEV service. I think we supplied it as well, so the customer is getting 20% off our labour. If you don't know about that, we do 20% off for life if you bought the i3 that we're servicing from us. So that helps bring the cost down a little bit. And yeah, we'll catch up with you when we get there and see what we find.
At the next stop, we're greeted by a 120 ampere i3S, which we sold about 2 years ago. But that doesn't mean we can let our guard down or cut any corners during the service.
Back from the road test, and as expected, it feels like a new car. It's absolutely spotless, and I'm really not expecting to find things, but even more so given how good everything, it's all the little things that are going to add up and are important. Filling up the washer fluid, greasing the hinges, all the little things, checking wiper blades, checking tyre treads, checking tyre pressures. We will do a full video showing a full walkthrough of our service in case you were wondering what's included, why it takes the time it does, why it's priced how it is. I'm just waiting for the laptop to do its thing. We'll do the digital interrogation as well, check the battery health. Customer was asking about the 12 volt battery, so just like with car one, we'll report back with the health, but it's a 19 plate, so I'm not expecting it to need doing, but we'll see what it says. 12 volt battery health, according to ISTA, was 69% state of health, so interestingly only a tiny bit higher than the 17 plate that we just saw, but this customer doesn't use the car often, so that could sometimes have a bearing on it. As far as high voltage battery goes though, that's obviously something that we check and the customers are very interested in. The number speaks for itself. There is no room for improvement. It is still at 100% state of health. All done and as expected, absolutely no extra findings. A stunning car. If I may be cheeky, I'll say it's obviously because we supplied it. But yeah, all done. On to the next one. We've made up a bit of time here, which is great because the first appointment took a bit longer. So yeah, third and final one, and I'll catch up with you then.
A bit of luck with the route planning meant a last-minute decision to collect some parts we had on order with BMW, given we're passing right by. The dark oak wood trim retrofits have been extremely popular, so we have plenty of those, as well as the aforementioned 12 volt batteries and various other bits and pieces.
We have made it to the third and final job of the day, which is another BEV service. Let's start with the cabin microfilter. Get this aftermarket mat out the way. And then the BMW one, pull this out. So we have BMW filters from 2023, so a good first indication that the car has indeed had a service about 2 years ago. I think last week I was at a 2016 car, and the filters I pulled out were the original ones from the factory. The factory filters have an extra little marker that has the word Denso, D-E-N-S-O, I don't know, some kind of branding. But the aftermarket man filters, the CUK 23, either 005 or 015s, whether you get them from MAN or BMW, they never have the Denso word. The Denso is only there on the factory ones. It was also 2016 date. Very mouldy, that one was, but this one's all good. Observing the arrows, so the airflow arrows are pointing towards the back of the car. Pop the clips back on. very easy to cross thread these, so you just got to go careful. Having a long driver like this really helps, otherwise this gets in the way. And when you put it back on, you just lift that out of the way like so, and then it's just 4 big hits. 1, 2, 3, 4, done. And then Matt's back on, and that's that out of the way. And also another reason I do it first is because then I need to plug into the OBD port, and I can't do all that with the cable in the way. Okay, so just started plugging in the laptop and doing the key read and stuff like that. And while that's loading, I just had a look on the iDrive screen, and what's due now, or in a few days' time, August 25, is a vehicle inspection. Now, that is the MOT, and we've done a dedicated video on this subject, so make sure to check that. The service on an i3 is these two here, brake fluid and vehicle check, and you can see they're showing April 26. Now, that's not good because it's obviously currently summer 2025, but it's not all lost, because what we do when you book a service with us is we check when the last service was due, and obviously that should have not fallen through the cracks if it has indeed been serviced in 2024. It hasn't, and we can access this remotely when we're taking your booking. The last service was actually done in April 23, which is in line perfectly with everything, because the car was registered in April 21. So the first service was done in April 23. Second service would have been done spring summer this year, 2025. I understand, having briefly spoken with the customer on arrival, they bought the car about a year ago. I imagine what happened is whoever they bought it from just reset the services just for the sake of it, or to, you know, push that can down the road. But yeah, so still due a service, but isn't actually asking for a service, although coincidentally we're probably here because the customer has misunderstood what the vehicle inspection means. If you're unsure, or if you just, you know, want a bit of guidance on it, by booking with us, we would never take a booking for a car that isn't due a service. If we've checked the system and we see that it's been serviced last year, we wouldn't be here right now. Yeah, this is the 21 plate, so it's the youngest of the 3 today, and also the lowest mileage. Quite a few sort of observations on this one. Plugging in the laptop, there were a few error codes to do with sort of bumpers being removed and stuff like that, so there was a bit of concern, but actually having spoken to the customer, everything's kind of explained. The car's used by several family members, a few of them are learning to drive, there's been a few incidents and stuff like that, things have been unplugged when things have been repaired, so that's all kind of as expected. Suspension gaiters are just starting to perish, but we've had a conversation about that, and we've got an action plan for dealing with those down the line, maybe with some dampers, just because of the speed bumps here in this location in London. I just quickly wanted to mention this because at the 2 previous jobs you saw me using the trolley jack straight on the tarmac. Obviously where we are here, we've got these lovely tiles and everything's in sort of, you know, very tidy order. We've got some little LEDs and stuff, so wherever in doubt, or if it's really critical to spread the load, this piece of ply comes out, and it just means that your surface is safe and protected. We have a pretty good gauge of when it needs to come out, when it doesn't. If you have any concerns, speak to us. But yeah, for things like tarmac and concrete, like at the second job, it's not really needed. Anything like this, and also shingle to spread the load, it does come out. So yeah, obviously the priorities are me being safe, you being safe, but also the car and, you know, your driveway. I finished the brake fluid bleed on the other side of the car. I torque all the wheels, pack away the tools, and conclude things with the customer. So that's the 3rd service done, and the day has come to an end. I hope you found it interesting. Obviously 3 routine-ish services. There wasn't going to be a huge amount of variety, but we did at least find a few things. Interesting to see that actually the youngest, lowest mileage car is the one that potentially would have needed the most work. If you're also looking to book a service anytime soon or in the future, we are now booking for January 2026. We're filming this at the end of July, and we are going to release it. You'll be watching it in August, and I'm the first to say that is a ridiculous lead time. It's also frustrating because we're losing a lot of work from people who simply can't wait that long. Either the service will be way overdue, or it's a MOT coming up or something like that. We are working on that, and we are desperately trying to find the right person to help grow this. There will be a video coming up on that soon, but if you've been watching this by chance and you are a mechanic and have good knowledge on BMWs, please get in touch, drop your CV to us. We'd be more than interested in hearing from you. But yeah, I think that concludes the video. Martin's asked me to point in various places and tell you about lots of different links, but I really don't have the mental capacity to do that, especially while driving through London. So yeah, just click somewhere and I'll really appreciate that. Thank you very much. See you in the next one.